Welcome to Lil Unfiltered. I'm going to call this part 3 in my Expat Survival Series. Today I'm going to talk about Social Security abroad, retirement, survivors benefits, and Medicare. So if, for example, you move abroad, will you still get your Social Security? The short answer is yes, but the truth is complicated. Some countries will block your payments. Survivor benefits don't pay out the full amount your spouse earned. And Medicare, that's a whole other story. Today, I'm breaking down exactly how Social Security works abroad, retirement benefits, survivor benefits, the countries where your payments stop, and why Medicare may leave you stranded. So first off, retirement benefits abroad, the basics. If you worked in the US for at least 40 quarters, about 10 years, you qualify for Social Security. Yes, you can receive it abroad, but here's the fine print. If you live in certain countries, the US cannot send payments at all. Right now, that's Cuba and North Korea, not particularly ideal destinations. You know, most people aren't choosing to go there, but just wanted to put that out there. There's also a group of countries where payments are restricted, and I can't pronounce them all. You can always look them up, but they're not popular destinations for U.S. citizens to move to, but a couple of them are Azerbaijan, I think is how you say it, Belarus, Kazakhstan, and there's more. If you live there by chance, your payments may be withheld until you move to a country where payments are allowed. In most other countries like Spain, Thailand, or Romania, payments continue indefinitely. The Social Security Administration actually has a tool called the Payments Abroad Screening Tool. And I just learned about this. I didn't even know that. But you can check, if your host country allows payments. So the first thing you need to know is this: where you live determines where you get your check at all. Now, survivor benefits, the widow or widower reality. Let's talk about survivor benefits. That's something that hits home for me personally as a widow. If your spouse worked and qualified for Social Security, you may be entitled to survivor benefits, but here's the reality. You can start collecting as early as age 60 or 50 if you're disabled. But if you start at 60, you don't get the full amount. You only get about 71.5% at this time of what your spouse received. If you wait until your full retirement age, you can receive 100% of their benefit. In my own case, I didn't receive the full amount my husband had earned because I took it early. The system gave me only a fraction, and I'm blessed that it was still a decent amount. There are some more rules. If you remarry before age 60, you usually lose survivor benefits unless that later marriage ends. Or if you remarry after 60, you can keep your survivor benefits. So widows and widowers abroad need to be very clear. Survivor benefits are reduced if you start early, and the rules can cut you off entirely depending on your marital status. I also want to say, because I forgot to say at the beginning, but anything that I'm putting out here is not it's not intended to be legal advice or tax advice in any way. If I talk about taxes, it's just I've taken notes on certain things that I've researched, and I'm just bringing it to you. If you need legal advice, obviously, or tax advice, you'll want to consult a professional. Okay, so there's the 6-month rule for non-citizens. Here's another thing most people don't know. Social Security has what they call the 6 full calendar months rule. If you are a non-US citizen receiving benefits and you leave the US for more than 6 full months, your payments may stop. To restart them, you often have to come back to the US and live there for a full calendar month. This rule is aimed mainly at non-citizen dependents or survivors. But even for US citizens, you need to know the difference. If you are a US citizen, payments can continue abroad if you're in a country where payments are allowed, and most people are. If you're not, by chance, and you don't meet the exceptions, your benefits can be suspended. Medicare abroad, the harsh truth. Medicare does not cover you outside the United States. If you're living in Portugal, Thailand, or Mexico, for example, Medicare will not pay for your doctor visits, prescriptions, or hospital stays. Some supplemental insurance policies cover limited emergencies abroad, but standard Medicare won't. And here's the kicker. Even if you're abroad not using it, if you don't sign up at 65, you'll face lifelong penalties if you ever return to the US and try to use it. So that's important to keep in mind. So yeah, you have to pay into a system that does nothing for you unless you physically come back. Let's talk about totalization agreements. And these are treaties between the US and about 30 countries that coordinate Social Security systems. And they prevent you from being double taxed for Social Security, let you combine work credits from both countries to qualify for benefits. But here's the problem. Most countries don't have them. If you're in Europe, you might be covered. But if you're in Southeast Asia, Africa, or Latin America, you probably aren't. That means you could pay into two systems and only benefit from one. Taxes and withholding. Another surprise, Social Security abroad isn't always tax-free. The US may withhold up to 30% in taxes before sending your check. And your host country may tax it as well. So do your research on which country you want to go to before you get stuck with that. Treaties can reduce double taxation, but not every country has one with the US. So your $1,200 monthly benefit could shrink to $900 before you even touch it. What you need to do before you move, you must check before relying on Social Security abroad. Will the US send payments where you're moving? If it's Cuba, North Korea, I don't think most people want to go to North Korea and live, or one of the other restricted Central Asian states, they will not. Survivor benefits, know the percentages. At 60, you don't get the full amount. At full retirement age, you do. Healthcare, Medicare won't cover you. Factor in private insurance or your host country system. And a lot of people, if you're going to move there, then you usually end up doing that. Taxes, will your benefit be taxed twice? Does your host country have a treaty? Medicare enrollment, even if you can't use it abroad, signing up at 65 avoids penalties later. Planning ahead isn't optional, it's survival. So here's the unfiltered truth. Social Security can follow you abroad, but not everywhere. Survivor benefits may give you less than you expect, and Medicare, it's useless overseas. These are the facts nobody tells you when you're planning your dream retirement abroad, right? So this is part 3, as I said, of the Expat Survival Series. And if you're watching this, you're already miles ahead of most people who find out the hard way. Because the benefits you earned aren't always the benefits you actually get once you leave the United States. And that's the truth about Social Security overseas, restrictions, survivor benefits, and the harsh reality of Medicare abroad. I hope this helped you. If you have anything to add, please leave it in the comments. If you have any questions for me, I also want to hear from you. If there's anything you'd like me to cover, please let me know. I have one more coming up in the series, and we'll move on from there. Thanks for watching.